So while it's been weeks since we've been together, as you probably may have noticed, since my shirt hasn't changed for the last 3 weeks, I record these kind of ahead of time. Um, our house has very funky internet, and so I have to record them ahead of time and upload them at other places. Um, Someday, as always, we're going to get better internet, which I always makes when I say just someday we'll have what they have. Always makes me think of the Sarah's Journey series, which I'll probably introduce you to at some point, because it's a phrase they do. They moved to Kentucky, and she's her dad's pa's always saying, "Well, we don't have enough, but someday." And I think of that every time. So today, I would like just to go over some of the things that are on my bookshelf, why they're there, and what I think about them. So it's kind of going to be probably a little long, but I hope super fun. So I'm probably going to move the camera around a little bit, so there might be a little bit of wiggling. So actually, first thing I did is tip it up just a little bit so we could see all of mine. Oh, I'm going to tip it up just a little bit further. See, that's my tea shelf. I'm really into tea. Highly recommend Republic of Tea. That's my pumpkin spice. It's at the front because I drink that the most. Okay, now we're going to get back down to here and to my books. So, as I said a few weeks ago, I organized my fiction books by author's last name. And we're going to start here with the first ones I have is Tamara Alexander right here. So actually I'm going to move because I got to meet her. I was really excited. This is in 2015 and I was actually in the middle of the first book I had read by her. I'm going to forget the name of it, but it was really good. And so I hadn't read any, and she was just a delight to meet, and I hope someday we get to meet again, because I want to tell her that her books really blessed me. Let's see here. Here I have, currently this is empty, but Mom and I got this on my graduation trip. When I graduated from high school, we took a trip and we bought this together, so I have some things here. Oh, and my bookmarks, very important. Maybe sometimes we'll go through some of these, because some of those are really fun. So these are my two Tamara Alexander books. I'm not going to take them both down because they're kind of holding up some others. So they're both in the Belmont Mansion. Let me get that wrong. I'm sorry. Series. I have books 1 and 2. My sister found them for me at the thrift store, and it was right after I finished one series of Tamara Alexander. I really loved it. So I have actually yet to read these, but I'm really excited to. Those are on this year's to read. Actually, by the time you watch this, maybe I'll be reading them. Check my Goodreads. And if I haven't read them, maybe you should bug me. So, let's see here. Put that back up. Like I said, I like to keep things tidy, except for my workspace, which is still messy. Alright, next I have Love Amid the Ashes. And I actually haven't read that one yet, but I'm really, I actually started it once, and I don't remember what happened, but I was really intrigued by the setup, because it's Jacob's daughter Dinah and Job. So I was really fascinated by that connection. So I'm looking forward to reading that one also this year. Next is probably just like, if you ask me top 10 books ever, at least one of these would make it. This is the Donorschoose Trilogy. As you can see, things are very carefully balanced. These are, like I said, some of my absolute favorites of all time. These are biblical fiction, and I'm not huge into biblical fiction, but this is set. This first one is The Heavens Before, and it's set right around the time of Noah. It's actually about a woman who hasn't spoken since the death of her father. She actually saw him murdered. It wasn't very graphic, but she was pretty emotionally scarred, and she ends up getting connected to Noah's family, and it really changed her life. And it was just like such a powerful story of God's redemption and grace. Only warning, there is a little bit of marital themes talked about in the book, not for younger readers. I believe I read a little bit of a detailed review on Goodreads, so you could go check that out. I think it at least did some major things. The second book in this series was actually, it would compete, I couldn't pick either number 1 or 2 to be the favorite of it. This is He Who Lifts the Skies, and it's written a few decades after this ends. But some of the same characters are in it, because lifespans were longer. Also, these are very strongly into trusting the biblical account and creationist view on things, so that was really cool. And so this is He Who Lifts the Skies, and it's kind of a bridge between the flood and the Tower of Babel. So, and one of my favorite things is this character, the main character in this, gets into this just really trying circumstances, but she doesn't just sit whining. She doesn't like, why would God allow bad things to happen to me? She's just like, God's gonna get me through this. And I cried a couple times in this book. It was just so powerful. And there are a couple of scenes that are just really tough. It actually has almost no romance. It's at the end. It's very brief. And if you read the story, you'll understand why it's kind of sad. There's still some mentions of some things that I still wouldn't recommend it for young people, especially. There's some pretty good violence and stuff. Not good violence, but some pretty, not super graphic, but not just mentioned in passing kind of violence. So, and then the third one, I'll have to admit, was probably my least favorite of the trilogy. Not that that's saying a lot, since the other two were so good. It definitely lagged in the middle. A Crown in the Stars. Like I said, it lagged in the middle, but it was very intriguing, because especially the ending part was dealing with the Tower of Babel, the confusion of languages, and there was just so many intriguing ideas in this entire trilogy, based on biblical and creationist views of things. It was really neat, and like I said, this lagged in the middle, but definitely worth it. And I really liked a lot of aspects, and this one had a little bit more romance than He Who Lifts the Skies, but not quite as much as The Heavens Before. So, like I said, these would if out of the top, if I was picking series, in fact, I think I did for one of the fall things, this would make one of the top 5 list of series that I like. Alright, some of you could probably see back here, I have some books, and I think I'm going to adjust some stuff because these are about to fall, and we'll get into that. So up here, I keep the books I'm reading up on top of this shelf. As I'm doing this, by the time you actually get this video, it'll be read, reviewed, hopefully. This is The Last Heir by Shannon McDermott. This is what my current read. It's a very slow paced. Not my typical reading thing, but it's really nice right now. I really wasn't interested in a thrilling read. While if you really like suspense, I would not recommend this. If you're really interested in political intrigue, one of the better books. I had good Mexican food. Okay, the next one that I have on my shelf is Step by Step by Kandan. I'm sorry if I get the name wrong. I really like her books. I haven't actually read this one. I found this at the thrift store. This is one of those I bought last year, still in a buy and freeze, but I picked it up for $1. And it was like the latest release by her out, so I was really impressed to find it. I've read a lot of hers. They're always around medical stuff and nursing things, so they're always really good. I think we have time for one more author, and then I'm going to break this up, because as much as I love this, I realize I'm kind of going I try to keep these about 10 minutes long, and I'm going way over. I love books. Okay, this is Elizabeth Kandan. I have quite a few of her, as you can tell. And I have actually mixed thoughts. I really love a lot of books. Into the Whirlwind probably would make, if I was making a top, it has made my top 10 list on one year. I'm going to forget which one, probably the year it was written. Check a peek in here. So if you go to my 2013 list, it's probably on that year's top 10 for the year. I love how Elizabeth Kandan makes historical events and time periods and setting come to life in ones you really haven't, that a lot of other authors haven't done. The Lady of Bolton Hill was such a sweet story. People brought together by music. It was really sweet. Very. I really liked that one. Against the Tide was actually the first one I got, and confession to make, it was just because I really liked the color. So pretty. I mean, it's so gorgeous. I mean, look at her hair. It's so cute. And yeah, I really love this cover. It's one of my favorites. And I got it just for that, and I really was intrigued by this whole thing. I really did not like, there's one of the main characters, Bane, is actually in another book, and it's I'm gonna have to look at the back. Oh yes, The Rose of Winslow Street. I did not like that one. It had some content in it that I found disturbing, honestly, and so I don't like that one. It's one of the few books of hers that I've actually bought and then gotten rid of because I really didn't like it. I really love the setting, Beyond All Dreams. It was the Library of Congress, so it's libraries, bookish stuff, political things, and so it was just kind of right up my alley. And then this is the last one I've read by her, The Farthest Shores. And it really showed me, I don't like some of where she's taking her romances in the last couple releases. It's terrible to say, I know, but I really like some of her books. I'd still really recommend some of her earlier stuff, and I still want to read her newer stuff, because maybe it was just, I read another book set in a hospital and surrounded by tuberculosis. It was kind of focused on tuberculosis research, and it was really interesting, but I really didn't like some of the content in that, and because it was unnecessary for the story plot. I could stand some kind of grittiness if it's necessary and has a point, and I didn't think it did. So, I would still recommend, like, Into the Whirlwind would be my favorite, and Against the Tide, and Lady of Bolton Hill, and Beyond All Dreams. Highly recommend. This one I still gave 5 stars to, because I really liked a lot of the aspects of it. But, like I said, some of her newer stuff is not to my taste. So we just have barely done into my reading shelf, and I'd really like to continue this next week. So if you're really interested in getting kind of brief overviews of the authors that I love and touring my bookshelf, come back next week.